So much fun. This is Mackey and Judd, daily Minnesota sports entertainment. And even though our guy Doogie's on like a week and a half, he started his Vikings bye-week vacation like a week before Vikings bye-week. He's just been in Florida with the family. We'll get him back next week for some inside information about Minnesota sports teams. But don't think we forgot about Reckless Speculation Thursday here.
Reckless Speculation.
All right, we got plenty of stuff here. And Reckless Speculation Thursday is presented by our friends at the Minnesota Wild. So we're giving away tickets to Wild Predators on October 24th. And today, on this Thursday, is your last day to register for tickets. All you have to do, if you want free Wild Predators tickets on October 24th, is open the Score North app, register, and enter to win. It's a free app. It's the central hub for everything we do here on Score North. Judd's written work, all of our podcasts, all of our YouTube videos, and you can register to win those Wild tickets. Today is your last day. We're going to pick a winner sometime later today. So, also, if you're a college student, college night discounts are back this season at the X, and the Wild are having $39 tickets, I should say, if you're a college student. And there's a few games to choose from each month. So find out more at wild.com/themepacks.
Reckless Speculation.
So, all right, we'll get through a couple things here, and then I got some old tweets exposed for you guys too. But let's start with this, all right? Kirk Cousins is having an excellent season so far. I don't think is really like front of mind in MVP conversations, but if they beat the Cowboys in primetime and he plays well,
yes,
I think you'll start to hear some MVP buzz. Like it's going to take a national stage, them getting above 500 for the first time. And so here's my question. He's got one more year left on his contract. Right now, I think he's locked in as the second or third highest cap hit in the league. Like Matt Ryan is up there, Aaron Rodgers. All three of them are at like $45 million for a cap hit next year with like a $200 million salary cap. So do you think if you ask the Vikings right now, Rick Spielman, the front office, you got to make a decision right now based on the first 6 games. Would they look to cut bait? Or do you think the Vikings are currently interested in extending 33-year-old Kirk Cousins, A, to smooth out the cap hit for next year, but B, because he's playing pretty well?
Well, one, we know for a fact that there was a point in March or so where they attempted to do this for the second consecutive year with Kirk, which means an extension was the only route to do so. And that Kirk said, no, I'm good. Think I'll play her out right now. So I think that if the Vikings, I think if you went to Spielman and the Wilfs right now with how Kirk is playing, they would say that they would like to go back to Kirk again and try to extend him. Now, I'm not speaking for myself. I want to make that very clear. But I think with the way he's going and the way that this offense is trending, that they would probably, from at least a front office perspective, take door A and say, if we can extend him and smooth out the cap hit and free up cap space, we'll do it.
I think you're right. I think if it was right now.
Reckless Speculation.
And I think, well, let me give you the cap hits here. So Matt Ryan is on the hook for a $49 million cap hit next year. Now, why does this matter? Like, why do you guys care so much what someone gets paid? We don't. I don't care. It doesn't matter what they get paid.
That's why we're talking cap hits.
It's about it's about the strategy of using your allotted pool of money for a roster, right? Like it's not like baseball where, if you want to go above and beyond and take a loss, you can. You can't do that in the NFL. So you got to be careful about overspending, spending great money on good players. So Matt Ryan's cap hit, and a lot of these are going to be restructured, but $49 million, Aaron Rodgers $46 million, Kirk Cousins $45 million. And then you go to Deshaun Watson at 40, Tannehill 39, my God. Russell Wilson 37, Pat Mahomes currently 36 for next year, Dak Prescott 34. So I think the Vikings would be interested in like a 2 or 3 year extension, unless if they love Kellen Mond behind the scenes for next year, that remains to be seen. And they don't have to make this decision right now. They can make it probably in like February next year. I think they would say, all right, let's do it. He's playing too well. But here's my biggest concern. And we floated this stat on the Tuesday episode with Alex Boone. But Kirk Cousins, when kept clean in the pocket this year, is bonkers good. Almost 80% completions and almost 9 yards per attempt. Like when he's kept clean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL most years, but especially this year. All right. And you might say, well, why is that a concern? Isn't that great? Don't you like, wouldn't you want to have that around for the next few years? Well, when he's pressured, he's sitting at 34th in the NFL this season among 36 qualified quarterbacks in yards per attempt. He averages 4 yards per attempt when he's pressured and 45% completions. For context, Matt Stafford, Kyler Murray, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, all those guys average more than double the yards per attempt when facing pressure. Now, obviously, if you're Kyler Murray or you're Josh Allen, when there's pressure, you use your legs to run, keep a play alive, and then throw a 40-yard dart down the field. Kirk doesn't really have that in his game. And so what I would say is it's not realistic for him to just not be pressured. In fact, in the biggest games where you're going to need him the most, the Buccaneers are going to pressure you in the playoffs if you play them.
Right.
The 49ers pressured you 3 years ago in the playoffs, right?
Correct.
So for me to say, all right, he's going to be one of the 5 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL to the cap, I need him to be better when his teammates are sort of melting down around him. He's been excellent with protection, and his weapons are great. I'm still worried that he's not good when defenses can sort of get home or get close.
Yeah.
That's still my biggest concern.
There are so many tentacles to this, and almost every one of them goes down a reckless path. Because I agree with what you just said. The other issue, too, is this. The list of quarterbacks that you ran through their cap hits for 2022, Phil, is a pretty long list of quarterbacks who are in partnerships with their teams, which means the majority of those guys, Mahomes, guys like that, Prescott probably, all will smooth out their cap hits by deferring and pushing money into the future. And so you just read a fictional list, aside from a guy like Cousins, who's not fictional. So it's like fans will say, well, Kirk is playing great right now. I mean, you would pay Mahomes, right, Phil? You would pay Kyler Murray. You would pay this guy. You would pay that. Yes, but if all of them are in cahoots with their team and smooth out their cap hit year after year after year, like Brady did with the Patriots for so long, that creates a huge difference. Personally, with Kirk, here's what I would do. I would let it ride, because I don't know where this train is going. I don't know who the coach is going to be. I don't know if Kirk is going to sustain this. I will say this, pressure-wise, I'm a little bit more comfortable because I do believe that they are taking steps, and they're not there yet by any means, especially at center, to improve the pass protection. Because the tackles could be good now. I don't think the guards are a train wreck now. There's room for growth there. The center is probably a train wreck, but I would let this ride. I really would. I just don't know where this team is going, and I think that there's so much uncertainty that I'd be hesitant to make any huge moves right now based on the future. I would just play for now, and if I'm the Wilfs, especially, reevaluate.
Okay, but that wasn't one of the options. If you had to make a decision,
I know.
Today,
I told you. I think they.
You just chose an option. You chose a fictional option.
I chose what I think they would do. You asked me what would they do. I'm saying if Judd owned the team, which, you know what? I mean, I'm 50. I'm going to be 52. Laurie's like 50. I mean, he's a kid compared to me.
But then why
can't I own this damn team?
Then let me make the question even more clear. All right, I'm gonna make very clear parameters for this question.
Okay.
You can't kick the can down the road until week 15 or January. You have to make a decision during the bye week right now. Do you restructure Kirk's contract, lower the cap hit, especially for 2022? Maybe you lower it by $20 million or something so you can have more money to spend on a new center or something, right? And let's say it's a 3-year deal. It takes him through age 36, but it definitely relieves you in the first couple years of cap hit, and then you have to figure it out when he's 36.
Okay.
Or you say goodbye, now. Like, you get to use him for the rest of the season, but like you officially say, like LSU with Ed Orgeron, you're like, all right, this isn't working. We are going to have a new quarterback and $35 million in extra cap space next year, but we don't know who that quarterback is.
Yep.
Which decision do you pull the trigger on?
With where this team is at right now, and I don't know who the coach is going to be, and I still have to pull the trigger.
You like that? You like that?
I probably let him walk.
Wow, dude.
It's such a.
Dude. Wow.
I probably allow him to walk.
Speculation.
But you're asking me what I
Mr.
would
Game-winning
do.
drive. He's Mr. Game-winning drive this year.
I know, but the sample size is still not big enough for me. And the other thing is, there's elements of this team that frighten me. I just look. It is very. I could rig this team up like they've been rigged up for years to be a good team. 9 wins, 10 wins.
Well, that's kind of what they are
wins.
now, right?
That's what they are now. That's my point. If I own this team, I don't want that. I want to try and win the stated goal of Purple Daily, which is a Super Bowl championship before people like Judd Zolgad die. And I don't feel like just going back to Kirk and being like, we'll re-up you with the uncertainty that surrounds this team. I'm still pretty convinced that Zimmer's not going to be the coach next year. And I don't know who's going to be, and I don't know where that's going to start. But my point being is, do I want to sign the quarterback long term? If I hire a new coach, I've got a new canvas to paint on, baby. Entire new canvas.
And if you hire a new coach, all right, let's keep going with that.
Reckless speculation.
Because I haven't even answered my own question yet, which I will. But if you hire a new coach, it's presumably going to be like a Kellen Moore. It's going to be an offensive minded guy, right? It's going to be an Eric Bieniemy or a Kellen Moore or like Byron Leftwich in Tampa. I'd be a little careful about just hiring people that work with Tom Brady and elevate their careers. But it sounds like he's been a good offensive coach for a number of years. One of those guys probably gets even more out of Kirk Cousins because those guys would be much more hands on. They would be spending. Like I even read an article. Was it Sean McDermott? It might have been another defensive. I think it might have been McDermott, but there was an article written about one of the defensive-minded coaches in the NFL and how they spend like 80% of their time on offensive meetings and stuff. So it's like it can be done, by the way. Mike Zimmer just chooses not to.
Sure.
I'm so curious to see an offensive-minded guru and a great leader who spends more time with Kirk. Because Kirk hasn't really had that support from his head coach. What are we doing? They're hanging out on Thursdays now. Yeah, the head coach finally got around to spending 45 minutes a week with his most important player. It's like, are you kidding me? Oh, I got to go. Sorry, cornerbacks meeting. Sorry, got an outside linebackers meeting I need to be at, Kirk.
It's lunchtime. Yabba dabba doo.
And for those of you watching here on the Score North YouTube channel, you're probably wondering, when did Declan get glasses? So I want to bring Ross in to so here's what I would do. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I would ask Kirk, hey, would you mind lowering your cap number to where Tom Brady's is at? Tom Brady's cap number this year is $16 million.
Yeah.
If you'll lower your cap number to $16 million so that we can go out and spend $30 extra million next year on a new center, don't tell Garrett, but we're going to get a new center. Yep. On a couple other pieces that'll make your life easier, and maybe another defensive piece or two. Everson Griffin's old. Like, go get a younger edge rusher. If he says no to that, then I have to say, dude, I'm sorry. Like, you can't be a top 5 paid quarterback and be bad against pressure. All these other guys are great against pressure. Mm-hmm. Like, the game's not always going to be clean for you. Mm-hmm. Ross, filling in for Declan, Minnesota Sports Chat podcast host.
Excuse me, Ross, 1 second. You gave me a black and white question with no outs. You don't know what Kirk is going to say. What do you do, hotshot? To quote Speed.
Well, I ask him. I frame it that way first.
Okay.
I extend him. If he'll drastically lower his.
But let's say he is mute. He will not talk.
Then he's gone.
Okay. So
if he's willing to accept the fact that, listen, we think you're great, but we think you're we think you're really good. We think you're like the 10th, 11th best quarterback in the league. And if you can present a case to why you are better than Kyler Murray, why you're better than Josh Allen or Tom Brady whose cap hit is $16 million because he wants it to be that way, then we can, okay, we can have a discussion, but like we're probably just going to let you go. It's not as much about Kirk. It's more about the money that Kirk makes relative to the roster, and I want this team to win a Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
All right, Ross, what are you doing? What's your? By the way, Ross Brendel, the host of Minnesota Sports Chat podcast, which you can find anywhere you find podcasts.
Very good, very well done. Thank you very much. You've done this podcast thing before, haven't you, sir?
Couple times, yes.
Just once or twice. So I agree with Judd here, and I kind of look at this as a two-parter. I think you can, and I know this isn't entirely the question, but I think it would be reckless to sign him long-term until you see more. The comeback wins this year, the late game luminary, Captain Clutch, the fourth quarter Pharaoh. Against Detroit, against Carolina. I get it, those were wins. You also had chances to beat Arizona. You also had chances to beat Cincinnati, where he did his job. But at the end of the day, you didn't win those games. I think you can use his ploy against him. You went to him. He said, wait and see. I like my money. So why can't you play it the exact same way and say, we're going to wait and see. We're going to get to the offseason, because name me many teams outside of Tom Brady, Peyton Manning late in his career, even though he wasn't very good. They had a great defense. Name me many teams that get to a quarterback with in the late 30s that are happy they are paying him $30+ million. It doesn't compute. It doesn't end well. So,
and I would think that at this stage in his career, like, he's made life-changing generational money.
Correct.
It's like, all right, dude, you've backed up the Brinks truck twice. All right, let's be done with that. Like, there's going to be generations of little Kirk Cousins kids and grandkids and great. Like, you're fine. The difference between, let's say, $20 million a year and $35 million a year is really not going to change your or anyone in the next 3 generations' quality of life. Let's go win some Super Bowls.
And that's my final point. If he cares about winning, he'll work with you on the contract, because play this out. Whenever he would get to free agency, what teams are coming after him? He lucked out to find a team like Minnesota that was Super Bowl ready, in air quotes. What was his other option? The Jets? They're a disaster. They were a disaster then. They're still a disaster. What teams will be looking for a starting quarterback down the road and see a guy in their mid-30s and say, yes, let's pay him all the money we can. Oh, and by the way, the rest of our team is probably hot garbage. That's why we're signing a free agent quarterback. I think the Vikings actually can control this situation. They have the power here. I really do believe that.
All right, you guys, come on. 2 things. Do you recall that I think it was NFL.com thing that they did with Kirk behind the scenes before he signed in 2018, where he actually talked about how he had the Jets. He knew he couldn't get as much from the Vikings as he did the Jets, but he got the Vikings close enough because he threatened them with the Jets to get what he wanted. Okay. The second thing is the Vikings went to him in like March and said exactly what you guys are saying for a 3rd year, which makes perfect sense. Hey, let's extend you again. Let's smooth out 2021. Let's create cap space. And so, like, this is a parallel to what we're going through right now. 2 life-changing contracts. Your family is your grandkids, your great grandkids will not want for anything. And Kirk said, no, I'm good. So I don't see why you guys would think he's changed his tune now, because to me, what transpired in March of 2021 and what potentially will transpire in now or March of 2022, it's an exact parallel.
Well, it's not an exact parallel, though. The first time they had that negotiation 3 years ago, he had made a couple years of franchise tag money, but like that was his chance to get generational money for the first time.
I'm saying these past 2 times because he had gotten the 2 big contracts by the time that they approached him again after last year. That's my point.
Yeah, I will agree with you. Like whatever conversations they had this last offseason that didn't result in a new contract, that's weird. That's either the Vikings balking at wanting him around longer, or it's him balking at wanting to lower his worth, right? And that's the other thing. It's like just because you lower your cap hit doesn't mean you have to lower your salary.
Correct.
But you need, it's you can shuffle money around throughout the duration of a contract. And so the longer the contract is, like Pat Mahomes has a 10-year contract. The longer the contract is, the more flexibility you have to say, let's take a little money from here and throw it down the road 5 years and then deal with it then, right?
Yep.
So I don't know. It's probably something they are talking about behind the scenes.
Reckless
But
speculation.
I'm going to tell you right now, we have seen in the past 2 nights the Wild and Wolves play games in which we have seen them both play with a certain joy that we have not seen in years. And Kirk Cousins is a very talented quarterback, but gentlemen, he's Ryan Suter, he's Parisi, he's the same type, which means he's good at what he does. But there is a price to pay when you have guys like that. I think you got to keep shooting your shots, especially if you're going to change coaches, for the quarterback that is the most ideal fit possible, because that's how you win a championship. And Kirk's playing great and it's fun to watch. And this offense is fun, but I will be very clear in saying I still think the Vikings have no chance to win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins.
Interesting. No chance.
0
is aggressive, and I'm
at a
been
less
just as
than
critical.
0 guy. I'm not that, like, I am telling you, I think they have 0 opportunity.
And I think it's more. I don't think they have a chance to win a Super Bowl with him at the current cap hit. But they plugged holes on the roster this season. Well, they plugged holes to be a playoff team. They didn't plug holes to be 6-0 right now, like the Cardinals are with a rookie scale contract quarterback.
No, you're right.
So if he were to say, all right, let's do this. I'll lower my cap hit below $20 million next year. You make it up to me on the back end, and we're going all in next year. And the Vikings find a real center, and they find whatever other piece defensively. They find a real lockdown cornerback that's not just Brashad Breeland, but like an actual lockdown cornerback and some other piece. Then they can win a Super Bowl.
If Kirk, Judd, to your point, if he views his value, and even a bit to your point, Phil, if he views his value or perceived value by how much money he makes, and this is probably a separate conversation, then that is entirely flawed logic, because when he retires, people will remember you like they remember all other quarterbacks. Did you win a Super Bowl or didn't you win a Super Bowl? People will always look at Phillip Rivers, who made a lot of money, and they will say he didn't win a Super Bowl. Matt Ryan made a lot of money, was close to winning a Super Bowl. We all know what happened. Didn't win a Super Bowl. Kirk Cousins should look at the amount of money that he's making and say, if I lower my cap hit $10, $15 million a year to bring in another player or two, that makes us a better team. And I agree with you, Phil. I've always said, can you win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins? I do believe you can. I just think it's a lot harder because you have to build your roster differently. And at the current number, it's even harder to win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins because of how much money he's making. So again, separate conversation. But if he views his value, perceived value around the league by a dollar amount, well, that's flawed logic.
Yeah. But but to this point, he does. To this point, he does.
And a lot of guys do. A lot of guys do. The reason why Ant feels special is because of his approach to life. He's not the norm. Like, there's a lot of guys. Phil's exactly right. Like, we've covered tons of guys. Some who really aren't that good, who care about one thing. What's my paycheck?
I think a lot of athletes are.
I do too.
It would shock people to know that a lot of athletes care more about getting the most possible money in their 20s before their career is over than like doing the thing. And so I get it. Like, I get it. You want to make life-changing money, and you know the league isn't gonna. The league's going to roll on without you anyways, and so you might as well get yours while you can. But there's some guys like Tom Brady who say,
"Oh, that's all I want.
I'm interested in championships."
And do you think for 1 second that a guy like Bryant McKinney, do you think he thought to himself, "I really want a ring," or every 2 weeks my bank account goes nuts and it's great, and I can go buy as much Cristal and all the stuff I want? So yeah, but Phil, you're right. I mean, if you think that the majority of athletes are there just to win the championship, and if I get paid, that's great too. It's the other way around with way more than fans would like to think.
Yep, I agree. I agree with that. So, all right, thanks for entertaining my just reckless
speculation.
Daily Vikings talk on Purple Daily. Now, you guys didn't think you were going to escape without some old tweets exposed on this Thursday. Did you?
Oh, is this you or is this Declan?
No, Declan's sipping on some bourbon in Chicago right now.
Okay.
I have found some incriminating. I'm going to put these under the category of spoke too soon about a player on Twitter here.
Okay.
And we're actually going to start with Ross Brendel filling in for Declan here today.
Beautiful.
All right. I got to be honest. I feel like Ross's takes are pretty honed on Twitter. It took me a while to find. Good for you, man. It took me a while to find some incriminating stuff on you.
That might be one of the greatest compliments anybody has ever paid to me.
Well, let's start with this one here.
Oh, no.
This
I think
is
that's
from
out of context already.
September 25th,
Oh, yeah,
2016.
Yeah,
Blair Walsh. Hashtag always true.
Yep. But then two down.
Now you did say you may be in troll mode here, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
Is that after that horrendous miss against the Titans, Roscoe?
I feel like, didn't he have a game?
Is that the Sean Hill game?
Didn't he have a game where at the beginning of that year he missed a bunch of field goals and everybody knew, oh boy, this is getting close to ending. And I think he maybe made an extra point or a big field goal, and maybe that's where that came from. But
Okay.
yeah, that's, even if you're trolling, you got to be careful because people don't know that.
Correct.
So that's
There needs to be
yikes.
like some sort of trolling font that you can use on Twitter, you know? All right, so that's a little borderline because maybe you were tongue-in-cheek with your always true there. But let's go to Judd Zulgad here. Again, the theme here is spoke too soon about a Minnesota player. And this is a gem here because not only is it Judd tweeting about Charlie Coyle, it's Judd misspelling or having a typo with the name Charlie.
It's 5:30, so I probably wasn't drunk unless December 28th was a weekend in 2015 in which I might have been in front of my TV drinking.
I mean, December 28th is a prime day to be drunk.
It really is.
It's between Christmas and New Year's. And Judd's tweet for the audio audience is Charlie, spelled Charlige, Coyle, is making those nifty moves a regular occurrence.
That was not trolling. I am going to sell myself out and tell you right now that was not trolling. That was genuine. I love how I spelled his first name.
Charlie Coyle. Just so many. When I think of Charlie Coyle, I think nifty moves just all over the ice. All over the ice.
Odds there was a drink there, Judd, maybe even a furious very high.
I hope so. December 28th? Yeah, hell yeah. All right, Phil.
All right. Here's mine. Again, spoke too soon is the theme here. And I got to think that I might be the leader in the clubhouse after this one. Tanner Morgan. This is from October 26th, 2019. Tanner Morgan is playing more confidently than any Gophers quarterback I can remember in my lifetime going back to 1985.
Congratulations, Phil Mackey. You just won.
Oh.
What happened? What? I know he lost Bateman and I know he lost, but I mean, I don't know, man.
Okay, look at this. Look at the follow-up tweet here. I tweeted, I feel like most Gophers quarterbacks are just nervous wrecks who sail passes.
Yep.
Not Tanner Morgan.
Can we blame you?
Not Tanner Morgan.
Can we
His
blame
second
you?
pick this past Saturday was one of the worst ones he's ever thrown.
Dude,
Well,
yes.
the back-to-back, well, the first one, he underthrew. Like, if he throws it to the back pylon, it's a touchdown.
Yes.
And the second one, it's like, dude, you're a senior, dude. Like, what? I know that Rashad Bateman's playing in the NFL, but was the entire success of his 2019 season just based on throwing it to Rashad Bateman? I guess.
And then PJ tried to say, you guys were all down on Tanner Morgan. He is 16 of 16 at one point, and it's like, yeah,
Dude,
but
he's
did you see
terrible.
those? But did you see those two picks, PJ? Yeah. Like, there's no way that you're like, good job, Tanner, way to get picked.
Yeah. So, all right. So those are old tweets exposed. I am your champion this week.
Congratulations.
Thank
By the
you.
way,
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
by the way, that is a great looking hoodie. I love the old school Gopher. I want that back. I want the old school skinny Gopher back. I
boycotted this hoodie for 3 weeks after that Bowling Green game, but I'm
you just
I'm
passed
kind
it
of
over?
back now. I think they're going to win a bunch of games. I think they're going to win all their games until the Iowa game, and then we'll see.
Roscoe?
Iowa's a fraud.
I think we should pull texts that Phil was sending me after the Bowling Green game. Maybe we might want old
like
texts exposed. That might be what the masses really want.
Yeah, careful what you wish for on that front. But,
Careful, Roscoe.
Yeah, I mean, I
Maryland's
definitely
a tough matchup for the Gophers, by the way, but it's at home, so I think they'll win, and I think they should win the next 3. But then again, they should have beat Bowling Green, so we'll see.
Is Tua's brother good? Because I saw him against the Hawkeyes on that Friday night at home about a month ago, and he looked awful. But I've seen that he's considered to be okay.
I've not watched him.
So when he, much like a lot of college quarterbacks from the Maryland games that I've watched, and I watched way too much college football, so I've actually seen a bit of Maryland football.
Yes.
If you can get him going early and he gets comfortable, he can be pretty good. And he can also, like his brother, he can kill you with his legs. However, the Gopher defensive line has they've gotten a lot better, considerably better in the last few weeks getting to the quarterback. So again, we'll see. Yeah, I think he's a bit of an issue, but if you can make him uncomfortable early, I think you can win the game. I think you should win the game.
Roll the boat. Sky, I'm back.
Bowling Green, and now you're back.
Purdue. Okay. First of all, the Gophers beat Purdue on the road.
Here we go.
Right?
In a driving rainstorm.
And then Purdue goes on the road and beats the number 2 team in the country.
So
the Gophers are one of the 2 best teams in the country based on, is it the transitive property? Is that what you call that?
The transitive property should take a vacation because I think it's going to be wrong here.
Boys, the Gophers control their own destiny for appearing in the Big Ten title game.
You damn right they do. They run the table. They get the rematch against Ohio State.
Here's the problem, Phil. Pick your path.
Or Michigan.
Pick your path. Wolves or Gophers. I can't take both.
What do you mean? Why can't I have both?
No, I just can't take both. I can get behind you on one of the 2, and I think it's the Wolves. But
yeah,
how many times do we have to see this film of Gophers have a huge game? Now they're going to Iowa, or now they're playing Wisconsin. Now, if they can just get past Bucky, if they can just get past the Hawkeyes,
that's what sucks about this. If they were to have just taken care of business against Bowling Green, we'd be sitting here legitimately saying, all right, they played Ohio State pretty close, and they haven't lost a game. They'd be ranked. So, but that's not what happened. They
I will say this: expectations for this season, you better beat Bucky. Bucky ain't good this year.
But Bucky still finds a way, even in the down years, to be just like oddly better than
I want you to beat Bucky, though. I want you to.
How many games has Bucky lost?
Roscoe, do you know off the top of your head?
They got beat by Notre Dame.
It's 3 or 4. I believe it might be 3.
They're not good. Like this is one of the worst Badger teams I've seen in ages.
They battled with Army on Saturday night, and Army can be very intriguing, very interesting because of the triple option in the ground game, and Army's designed to stay in games, but the Wisconsin that we all know should not be in games with Army late at home on a Saturday night.
Those Army players are like, you better fumble. I got the NSA on speed dial, and I know what you've been doing. They've lost 3 games. They're 3-3, but their 3 losses are to Penn State, top 10 team. Notre Dame is not that great.
Right.
They got smoked by Notre Dame. And then, that game got out of hand late in the fourth quarter. It was a pretty close game. And then they got smoked by Michigan. So doesn't mean that the Gophers are better than them. They've played a tougher schedule than the Gophers, for sure.
Beat Bucky. Do it, PJ.
Let's get it.
4-2 from here on out might put you in the Big Ten title game.
Okay.
Let's get it. You got to beat Iowa, though. You got to beat Iowa.
You got to beat Iowa or Wisconsin. Preferably both would be fun.
Can we agree not to mention that game until they're actually going? I feel like 2 years back,
you need to stop killing our buzz, man. You need to calm down, Buzz Killington.
Have I done anything about the Wolves to kill your buzz about the Wolves? I'm on the bandwagon with you. I'm just telling you, go for football, man. I can't do it.
All right, we gotta go before we drown in Kool-Aid here. Mackey and Judd, daily Minnesota sports entertainment. Feedback Friday tomorrow. So if you want us to either be therapists for you or answer questions or comments, hit us up on the feedback tab inside the Score North app. We'll see you guys tomorrow here on Mackey and Judd.